Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Minisode of How Did We Not Know That? I'm Nat, and today's episode is the second installation in my mini-series on theories of international relations. Before I get into it, I'd just like to remind you all to rate and review our podcast wherever you're listening from, and also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HDWNKT. Alright, so if you haven't listened to my minisode on realism, pause this and go check it out, please. As a quick refresher, realism is a theory of international relations which argues that all nations are working to increase their own power, and the most important interest for a state should be self-preservation. Realists believe that the state is a unitary actor and speaks with one voice. They recognize that while organizations and individuals do exist, their power is pretty limited when it comes to international affairs. Liberalism, which is the theory we'll be discussing today, is pretty much on the complete opposite side of the spectrum as realism. While realists believe in self-preservation, liberalists believe that the highest goal of government is ensuring the right of an individual person to life, liberty, and property. If you want to measure how well a country is doing, you shouldn't check GDP or territorial acquisition. You should examine the well-being of the individual. When you compare liberalism to realism, liberalism accounts for several more factors when determining a state's power and well-being. In order to ensure the rights of individuals, liberalism constructs institutions that protect individual freedom by limiting political power. The main ways that liberalists limit political power are through free and fair elections and through dividing political power through separate branches of government. Militaristic foreign policies are a big red alarm for liberalists. The thought is that if a state goes to war, it will have to build up its military power. Not only can this military power be used to fight other states, it can also be used to oppress its own citizens. Liberalism also emphasizes the power of individuals and organizations in a state's decision-making process. Liberalists recognize the impact of organizations such as the United Nations and Amnesty International, whose goals are to establish global peace by fostering a broader sense of international cooperation with respect to distinct political, social, economic, and militaristic perspectives. Institutions have also been created in order to pursue liberal goals. The European Union, NATO, or the UN can enhance the ability of governments to monitor each other. We currently live in an international system that has been built on the foundations of liberalism following World War II. For example, states, either individually or as part of a collective such as the UN, can impose economic sanctions or intervene militarily against an offending aggressive state. And additionally, an aggressive state risks missing out on the benefits of peace, such as the gains from international trade, foreign aid, and diplomatic recognition. So there are a lot of benefits for democracies pursuing liberal foreign policies. When studying liberalism, an important term to know is democratic peace theory. This theory asserts that democratic states are very unlikely to go to war with each other. The first argument is that in a democracy, there are natural limitations on political power and internal restraints. The second argument is that democracies are able to cooperate better with each other because they see each other as legitimate and unthreatening compared to non-democracies. However, it can also be argued that while democracies are less threatening to each other, they are more aggressive to non-democracies. A good example of this is when the US went to war with Iraq in 2003. So can there be world peace? If world peace is achieved, it would be hard to determine if it's the result of the tenets of liberalism or other factors surrounding democracies, such as power, alliances, culture, and economics. Despite this debate, a core element of liberalism is the possibility of a democratic peace gradually replacing a world of constant war. After the Cold War, the world looked a lot different than it used to. There's no longer a hostile power threatening liberal democracies. The threat of another major world war seems a lot less likely. And now the international economy is organized in accordance with the norms of the liberal market. Liberal internationalism has gained a new relevance, and it's an important theory for those who wish to understand the world a bit better. So that concludes my brief description of liberalism. Let me know what your opinion on the theory is by tweeting us at HDWNKT or by emailing us at howdidwenotknowthat@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and see you next week.
This has been an episode of How Did We Not Know That?
If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
You can also follow us on all social media, including YouTube, at How Did We Not Know That?
If you thought our podcast was low quality, we know. We thought so too. Help us improve the podcast by contributing to our Patreon.
Thank you for listening and see you guys next week.